Hi, Moritz. Thanks very much for being with us, for collaborating with our Blank Book Festivals organized by La Oficina de la Nada, the Office of Nothingness. We're very happy to talk with you, to collaborate with you in this new version of our festival, which is kind of I don't know, like a very little brother from your huge exhibition that you produced this year, and of course to think what we're doing in relation to a project in which you have been involucrated and developing for lots of years is amazing. It opens up a lot of perspective for our work. So thank you very, very much for being with us.
Well, thank you, Felipe, and nice meeting you again.
Yeah, exactly.
Although with a big distance.
Exactly. Well, for people that might not know your work, it's important to say that you've been working for a lot of years, creating exhibitions and also editing books, and also creating exhibitions about books, or I don't know, maybe we can talk of that later, working with books as if they were an exhibition in itself, all those kind of combinations related to your other interests, photography, architecture, conceptual art, etc. That's like the field in which you have been moving for a lot of years. And of course, our special interest in this occasion is your work with books, and especially with this exhibition and catalog called Blank, Raw, Illegible, that was presented some months ago in the Leopold Hedge Museum of Germany. So that is that will be the main theme of our conversation today. Well, I remember that we met in 2018, I think, in Barcelona. I guess we went to an exhibition by Martin Vitaliti, if I'm not wrong, and when we started talking there, you told us about your exhibition that you were developing, and I remember I have several versions of your huge PDF file with lots and lots and lots of books you've been inventorying all these years, and I'm really sure that after your exhibition you found even more, and this will never end. I mean, and that's very important because some people think that it's something really eccentric or isolated to produce a blank book, but your research and the research of other people that have been with the same obsession let us think that it's not an isolated gesture. It's kind of a genre in itself, for not only for artists but also for editors, for people that just want
graphic designers too, collectives. Yeah.
Exactly, right. So for me, at least, it was amazing to see what happened with your idea some years ago with that PDF file. And then, unfortunately, I was not able to visit the exhibition, but at least getting the idea with the catalog and on the images that you will show right now, it gives a good idea of the volume, the quantity of books that you were able to put together. So, well, first of all, congratulations for that amazing work. And if you want, I don't know if you want to say something before, or just we can kind of
no, I mean, I could say before that it is true that it's a very redundant object, the blank book. And I became myself, let's say, at the very beginning, aware of it by a very small paragraph of that Anne Mouglin-Delcroix wrote.
Yeah.
And that asked for my attention. So that is the kind of initiation why I started this. And then it took really a very long time because I had in mind to do a book. but doing a book on such a topic is difficult. You maybe know by yourself because you published one too. And then I thought, well, maybe it's easier by making an exhibition in order to realize the book, which was not true. So it is almost a coincidence that Anja Dorn of the Leopold Hösch Museum in Düren, which is close to Cologne, it's a provincial museum, took on this project, knowing that it is massive. And voila, so that's a bit the whole story. I mean, from when we met in 2018, I started maybe in 2017, shortly before we met, with this research. So it shows how much time it was necessary to establish such a thing. No, what I did is I did a brief PowerPoint, because I think that's a good idea to for the viewers, that they can contextualize things. And I will comment not extensively the things, and then we can talk about with great pleasure.
Just before we started, it's great that you mentioned Moglan de Croix, pardon my French, because I think also that the first time that I read something about blank books was not that text that you quote, but another text that is included in the catalog Voids by Matthew Copeland, who is also collaborating with us. There's a little essay in that book, which is
exactly.
It's like a great anthology of nothingness. And that started my idea. And later, Craig Dworkin in his book, No Medium, also talks about some or void books. So it's starting to how you can find some, I don't know, footprints in different places, and somehow that rings an interest in you, and then you I mean, you must have the same impression as me. Like you can't stop looking for blank books, and also people that started recommending you. It might happen to you, like, oh, I remember of you. I saw this blank book. So
no, I mean, it is true, but I mean, I started principally from 1960, and the period goes to 2022. Although, as you know, and you have yourself that book of a printer, which is from the beginning of the beginning of 20th century, 1920, no, 1912, something like that, I think. And but I decided to start with 1960, based on Herman de Vries, an artist who did within a period of what was it? 40. More than 40 years, he published 6 blank books.
Exactly.
And I thought that's a very nice anchor point of choosing a period or a particular person, a particular artist, to start this investigation. And of course, at the end, I have probably researched about 400 books, but there are much more. And then the question was, how do you, what do you do with this volume, and what is consumable, so to speak, in an exhibition? But let's start let's try to start this short PowerPoint. Well, let's see, share, and then we are now on the screen, no?
Yeah.
You are on my screen, yes. Okay, this is just the opening slide. It shows the title, and I just want to comment briefly the particular typography.
Yeah, please.
Because in the course of the project, graphic designers from Berlin have been involved as being the designers of the publication and the printed matters for this project. Designers I never have worked with them before. They are called Arc-Gestaltung, Joachim Bartsch und Timo Grimberg. And after a lot of tries to find cover typography for the book, they came up with that because I refused all the others. And this is beautiful in such a way that it is made by Letraset.
Oh, really?
How do you say this kind of transfer letters?
Yeah, no, we talk about Letraset also.
Yeah. And they had
a beautiful tradition with Letraset in the concrete poetry, Brazilian concrete poetry. Augusto de Campo made some poems with Letraset in the 70s. So there's
exactly
a tradition there, yeah.
And they had a stock of letters, and then they came up with this using, the Letraset to write actually the title. And I think this was a fantastic proposal. So far that. Sorry.
You have to. Oh, okay.
I will give you first some references of the project. So here you see two books, which are both actually catalogs of very first comprehensive exhibitions on artist books. On one hand, the catalog from Germano Jeland and Linda Moritz, which was published in September 72. On the other hand, the catalog of the show Artist Books, published in March 1973. So these both big exhibitions can probably seen as, the very first exhibitions that tried to bring under attention in a massive way the idea of the artist books, a medium that was in the 60s not established as such.
Okay.
The book by Germano Jeland and Linda Moritz, or the exhibition, let's say, presented 259 general artist books. The other exhibition in the United States, I think 232 books. At the end, the amount of books shown in the Jeland Moritz exhibition, the 259, became like the reference number of the amount of books I wanted to include in my project. But that said, only blank and illegible books.
Yeah.
Another book which became important was Michael Gibbs' anthology of blank books, All or Nothing, that is published in 2005. You see it here, 3 volumes in a box. That is a kind of a special edition. Basically, this one book is an artist book he republished again, where there is no word spacing between the sentences, which is hard to read. And
I have it also, and it's almost impossible. So
yeah, and the 2 other volumes are the same book, of which one volume is printed with white ink.
Exactly.
So these 2 other volumes basically are based on an essay that he wrote about blank books, and followed by a section where he illustrates 23 blank books. And the way he illustrates that is so beautiful, because he illustrates the book with just a blank page on one side, and on the opposite side, just a short caption.
And it's great because maybe this is something we will talk about when you talk about blank books. And lots of readings and essays about this genre. There are like two main ways of thinking it, like a conceptual work or like a very material work. There are some blank books that expose very with a lot of power their materiality, their like Ignacia Valli's pages, for example, like the changes in the color of different pages, etc. But in this way, he's choosing like the more conceptual way in displaying these books.
Exactly. Yeah. No, which is beautiful. So it really became a kind of inspiration too for my own attempt to format, let's say, this phenomenon. In this essay, Michael gives a really, in my view, a beautiful, most accurate definition of what a blank book is. Blankness is such a state of mind as it is a material condition, and as such it can be deceptive, hallucinatory, intentional, poetic, or spiritual. It can be legible or illegible, present or absent, perfect or imperfect, but it is never empty.
Exactly.
End of quote. And I think here he really breaks down the characteristics, the panorama of characteristics, what a blank book is.
Exactly. And all the huge array of options. I mean, we could also add other adjectives, like a book can be funny, a book can be political.
Exactly, political, disturbing, etc. Yeah. So the exhibition as such is rather, let's say, traditional. So once I defined this 259 title, which was a long process, the question was, how do you exhibit it? I mean, you had basically loans from other archives, sometimes expensive loans, etc. So everything had to be, in my view, under glass in showcases. So a very, ordinary way of presenting the books. What I now here you see the museum in Düren, where the exhibition took place. It has on its back a contemporary extension, and in this contemporary extension, the exhibition took place.
Okay.
Here you have a kind of a floor plan that informs you about, let's say, how the exhibition was structured by 15 different chapters. So what I'm struggled about was, how do you order these 259 selected books? And at the end, I decided that it is impossible. Because there is not a clear, there are not clear boundaries or section for all those books.
Some of them could be in different groups, and I mean, you
exactly. So they were kind of exchangeable regarding groups. And then I decided just to pick existing titles, 15 existing titles out of this total group, and to create chapters. So here here you see the exhibition guide for the public. It's the back cover where you see the plan of the exhibition and these 15 different sections or chapters where all those books have been presented.
It's great that you talk about chapters, because later we will see that in the book as well. So this mix of book exhibition, it's really deep.
So here you see a first view of the exhibition with all these showcases. There were different type of showcases, in total 40. And principally there was nothing on the wall. except posters
and some information
that mark these chapters.
Okay.
So on the right hand side, you see the first chapter, which is called Witt Weiss, which is a title of a book of Herman de Vries, made in 1967. And here you see, for example, one showcase, or the first showcase, only dedicated to all the 6 different editions that Dutch artist Herman de Vries made between the years 1960 and 2014.
And that is the last reprint, right, of with white.
This one here, this one is a reprint, exactly.
Oh, you know, we will have that one in our exhibition, but the problem is I bought it from Printed Matter,
Yes.
and when I bought it, they say we have only the display copy. Is it okay for you? Yeah, well, of course. I mean, it was almost impossible to get it, so they sent me, but and it was kind of a little dirty in the cover, but
yeah.
The problem is that the how do you say the
banderole?
Yeah, exactly. Was absent. So
yeah.
My copy doesn't have the title, doesn't have anything. So it's the whitest copy of Herman de Vries.
Yeah, no, I think it's important that you mention that, because this copy, so that was, you know, the reprint is made in 2012 of the book made in 1980.
Exactly.
And they both have this banderole, and the banderole is the only thing, you know, printed thing of the book. The book block, the cover, everything is just unprinted white paper.
So I have to I put a paper and I wrote the details just in case I forgot it or whatever. So it's,
yeah. No, what is special about this presentation, and I only learned it by making the exhibition, is that his second book that was made in 1962 and has the title Wit, which is, you know, Dutch for white, was made in only 5 copies. And of those 5 copies, only 1 was for sale at the time.
Wow.
And it was bought by Hannes Sohm, which is a book collector who passed, and of whom his archive is in the Staatsgalerie in Stuttgart.
Wow.
And this very copy in Stuttgart is the remaining, you know, it's the only remaining copy of those 5, because Herman de Vries has no copies and he has no clue where the other 4 might be, or if they still exist. So
if someone is watching this video and has the book, please tell us. You can send that.
And so in this case, a curator from Stuttgart came to install the book, you know, in a climate case and the whole klimbim.
Yeah.
And she told, it is actually the first time that I lent the book.
Wow.
So I assume it's the first time that all the 6 books of Herman de Vries were on view in an exhibition. Okay. So, and then I really was very happy, because I thought for myself, it's a kind of a Johannes Vermeer situation, you know, it's like that.
Exactly.
Something made very few of, you have you are able to present it. Yeah.
And I suppose you have a guard right next to the table.
No. So this is another general view, with on the right-hand side, let's say, the entrance to the circuit. Another detail of the chapter Empty Days. Here you see newspapers that British designer Joseph Ernst made of let's say voided newspapers, in which there is no text, and the images have placeholders of gray rectangulars. The first edition he made was nothing in the New York Times, and later on he produced other newspapers from other countries. Another exhibition view in that of that very first big space. Here a book by Alan Ruppersberg, Greetings from LA. It's a book made in 200 copies. It's not entirely blank. The book has
page numbers, right?
I beg your pardon?
It has the page numbers?
It has the page numbers. Yeah, it has page numbers, and it has in three small sections of the book 3 different narratives.
Okay.
And those narratives, they talk about, the first one is how 2 people meet at an intersection. The second is about people watching a horse race, and the third is in a how do you say, a room for lawyers, at the judge, of someone who comments the map of Los Angeles.
Okay.
So these 3 text fragments, it might look like part of a crime story or a detective story, of which you have to fill in, yourself, the blank pages. What is very important
this is a case in which, and it says a novel that you can also play, like trying to put the books in different genres, like poetry or novel or drama or whatever. Sometimes it's impossible, of course, but in this case it's very specific. This is a blank novel.
Yeah, but it's an artist book, it's
at the same time, exactly.
So it will be always inaccurate whenever you place it, because it also has other places. Well, anyway, another view that was a room apart where the chapter 7, I think, various colors in black and white,
like the colorful parts of
exactly. These are, let's say, monochrome books. Here you see the book with all these colorful tassels. It's a unique book that a graphic designer from Holland, Karen Willey, made for an art book fair in Tokyo, as contribution. And the pink, this kind of a pink big sheet, is actually a map, which makes reference to a country that does not exist, to a particular novel made by Bernard Villers from Belgium.
Oh, beautiful.
Another exhibition view where we see in front the chapter Raum, or Space, of which the title is of Heinz Kappmeier. Here, a book I particularly love of Leif Erikson, that's a Swedish artist who recently passed away, who made a book for a book fair. So it's called Artist Books Booked Art, and the cover states actually, or advertises actually, the book fair as such, which has on the back cover glued a large blue paper that it is folded and that you can unfold and use as a book stand, as you can see in the image, or when you completely unfolded it, is a kind of a background, a backdrop for the book itself.
And as I see, because I also wanted to ask you this, it's always very complex to display books in this kind of shows, because usually you have to choose either to show the cover or the inside of the book. So,
Yeah.
and of course, in this exhibition, well, I see that you are mixing. Sometimes you show the inside, sometimes you show the cover, but in this particular case, you put the two copies of it to show the different.
Yes, because it is. I mean, it was important for me. It's important the question: how can you disseminate the context or the concept or the content of a book to a visitor? And knowing that they are all blank, well, sometimes it's just enough to see the cover, because but the cover represents the idea.
Yeah, sometimes the joke or the, I don't know, the play is between the title and knowing that there's nothing inside. It's, well, there's sort of the like the comic versions of the blank books usually play that game. So, but in others, there's things inside that you need to show.
Right. And for example, in the previous case of the book of Alan Ruppersberg, I wanted to show 3 copies, which is difficult, you know, when you only have 200 copies available, because the blurb on the back cover is very important, because for this, the artist commissioned an art critic to write, you know, a praise of the book, which is very, very particularly and important to understand the context of the book. And the cover, which is titled "Greetings from LA." I mean, it's important because Ruppersberg is a Los Angeles-based artist. Made this book in '72. And describes, you know, a journey through the city. So here I have 2 copies, you know, to particularly present the feature of this blue poster on the back of the yellow blank book. Which is, by the way, you know, represents the color of the Swedish flag.
Oh, really?
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and also, it's interesting the contrast between the last one, because you are dealing with the idea of an empty book, not a white book only, like the idea of
blank is not necessarily white.
Exactly. I mean, the first idea when you talk about this is a book with no colors inside. But of course, you open that discussion, and later we will see.
No, a blank is basically an absence too, you know. So later on, you will see what that would produce in the exhibition. Here, another view of 2 very big sections in the exhibition. One of them, Anatomy of a Book, of which the title comes from a book that Fiona Banner did, which you see in the upper left corner, the book in question, called Anatomy of a Book. I come later back to this. And in the front, you see the book of Jonathan Monk, called Book, made in 2010. So that book has on its cover the letter B, and on the book cover the letter K. And in between are all the pages, which is about 140, just the letter O. I think it's also a beautiful book, because if you would try to read it, so to read these, I don't know, 140 O's, you will see you can't.
Exactly.
Because due to the breath, you do not have enough breath to read, you know, that book in one go. So I think it's a very nice example of this impossibility of of reading something. Another exhibition view of people standing around an empty showcase that was the only one in the exhibition, looking at the invisible books, which was also a chapter of which you see here 3 examples. Paul Elliman, Ariel, that is actually a type font that graphic artist Paul Elliman developed for all kinds of languages. So it is, and he goes so far. It's not only for ancient languages or contemporary languages or languages that are at the point to distinct. It's also for animals and objects like cars and you name it, plants, because they all somehow, communicate. But it's not a material thing. But it exists. The second one is Elisabeth Tonard, The Invisible Book.
A beautiful book.
From 2012. Also a non-material book, which has this very nice story, that she, when she launched that book of 100 copies, you could order it on her website. And you would pay €0, because it does not exist. It exists, but it's not materialized. And then a friend of hers bought all the 100 copies. So she was obliged to send invoice, that he bought 100 copies of the Invisible Book for €0 per copy, for €0 in total. And somehow she was frustrated about that fact or that event, and decided to launch a second edition of the book, again in 100 copies, but with the restriction that a buyer only could buy 1 copy.
The price was still 0, right?
Yes, it was 0. Yes. And meanwhile, her friend, who bought all the copies of the first edition, sold them on eBay.
Yeah, I have 1 copy from there.
Yeah, exactly.
€1, I think.
It's €1. That's the starting bit. I also bought a copy for €1 because no other one was at that moment, bidding.
Exactly.
But there were apparently books sold for up to €40.
Yeah, well, there's Florence Jung Invisible Book also, which is called Book, I think, which was sold at €40, I think.
Yes. No, yeah, something like that. But that is basically, it's a book about her work, which represents her work.
Yeah.
It's like a kind of illustrated, supposedly illustrated CV. A book I know about, but I did not include.
Yeah. It's great to see the options of how you display these 3 invisible books, also of our dear friend Enrique. Last year we showed his book made of catalog credit pages only,
exactly,
for the Paratext Festival. But it's interesting how you display them. In our case, we will display the certificates of ownership of the Elizabeth Tonard book, and Florence Jung book is like the receipt. We will exhibit that.
Yeah.
It's another way to, because
I also was considering that option. But I thought in the overall putting together the exhibition, I like the idea that there was a showcase which was just nothing in it. So I think that's part of a bit of the drama or the regie or the curating or whatever you want to call it. And the third book, Enrique Fares Duran, is a book that makes reference to a quote of Fahrenheit 451, you know, when Montag gives an instruction lesson how hidden books can be found.
Exactly.
And that is what the title, the Spanish
Talker,
title,
yeah. You know,
is
we will put a selection of movie scenes in which you have invisible books. That
yeah,
also a movie by Manuel de Oliveira, a Portuguese director, and the other one I don't. Oh, and the other one is Jean Cocteau's Orphée, the one
of
that
fame. Exactly. Yeah,
fake working quotes in his book. So we will
yeah,
show
yeah, yeah.
scenes of cinema, like a short scene of that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I would be eager to see your exhibition,
Yeah.
but
Oh.
it's too far
We-
away.
yeah, but we will try to make a good recording and registry of all that to share
Yeah,
with
yeah, yeah.
you.
And
Oh,
this
yeah.
is the last
Yeah.
space. It was a kind of separated space
Hmm.
with the last entry, number 259, which was actually, you know, a sound work that
Okay.
you see here, Sounds of Silence, an anthology, so to speak, of silent recordings.
Okay.
So this LP is already now in the fourth reprint.
Oh, really?
It came out, they did it again this year.
Oh,
Um, and it's nice, you know, because you hear silences based on the different recording technologies. You know, a vinyl sounds different than a shellac, sounds different. A digital then sounds different than a tape, etc. And in this work, the makers of it, three French authors, brought together 30 different recordings. John Cage not. It's not included, and
yeah,
they
that's
have a
funny.
reason why, which they explain in their introduction, which is on the gatefold inside. However, I come briefly to the catalog.
Yeah,
Here
please.
you see the book that was published on this occasion, and what I tried basically together with the graphic designers is to, you know, to create a meta reading of the blank book. I mean, when the exhibition showed that the blank book is much more entertaining as you might think,
Yeah.
or is much more visual as you might think, the catalog is also a proof of that, because it's not at all blank at the end, but you will see. So there is an let's say on the cover flaps inside, there is an index of all the more than 200 artists and collective who were represented with blank books. And then comes a kind of a section, a signature of 16 pages with these 15 chapter titles that I introduced based on
To
book code.
reproduce the typography of every one of them, or try to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was an idea of the designers, which I was very pleased about, and I think it is a very nice direct way, you know, to introduce the topic. I mean, when you read all these titles together like such, it is like a small poem, so to speak.
Yeah.
When you go through
But it's
that.
funny that the index takes a lot of pages.
Well, it's not. It's, you know, it's a kind of I understand it as an introduction.
Yeah, it works like that, right?
Yeah. Here you have on the left actually the content page, and on the right the opening page of the first section, which is called Catalog of Books. And in this first section, you repeat again these 15 chapters.
Yeah.
And as each book had a number assigned to it, it's just a chronological order of all the books from 1 to 259.
The description of every one of them, right?
Exactly. So as you hopefully can see, what I emphasized was not so much the name of the author, but the title of the book.
Yeah,
So
that was really, it's very important that I think because as you say, some lots of the times like this you get the sense of the book just by the title, and the role of the author is not necessarily that important. And I don't know what about in your case, but there's also a lot of anonymous blank books. I mean, commercial ones, or other ones that are that have a known author, but the name is not inside the book. Also, so it's interesting.
Which is okay.
Yeah,
it's okay. It exists. So I also had 3 cases of this in the exhibition of anonymous authors. There are also authors, you know, which have just a fake name, which you do not know the real author. I mean, a lot of cases. But here in this first section, it's basically, you know, the number, the title, the representation of the book cover, and then the technical aspects of the book, and a resume of the content or the concept of the book. And this goes just, you know, on and on. It's, let's say, the informative part of the book.
Yeah.
After this, there is a kind of a preface of Anja Dorn and Markus Mascher, the responsible persons at the museum, and an editorial note written by myself, in which, you know, the structure of the book is explained, why blank books, etc., etc.
But it's funny that it's in the middle of the book, not at the beginning. Also, I mean, you're also playing with the order of the book.
Yeah. But that's all, you know, part of this hybrid, which I wanted to achieve. Honestly said, that it is something. It is nor is it an anthology, nor is it a exhibition catalog, nor it is an artist book. It is, you know, of all 3 of them, it's something. So this is the part that the graphic designers suggested to do, which I'm also very happy. The title I gave myself, Inventory of Pages, which is basically the representation of each, you know, of each book is represented with a page. So you would think, well, they are just blank pages, but when you go through, you will discover more stuff. No, here, for example,
well, not always, but you can get a notion maybe of the different sizes, such in this case, and also other parts. Sometimes you see the hands. I mean, you take different options with the different books the pages that you are photographing.
Yeah, that has for a big part to do. Let's say half of the books were photographed in Barcelona by photographer Roberto Ruiz, and the other half is material that I had to organize because I don't have the book myself. And
but it's clear that this part is very diverse. I mean, it's not
exactly. And it's the proof, you know, somehow how diverse the blank book is at the end. Here you see on the left the second book of Herman de Vries, you know, which was made only in 5 copies, and on the right you see the third version of his blank book, which includes an introduction. Written by the poet Jesse van Schagen, which is clearly stated and printed, but there is nothing to read. You know, so it remains blank. This I show you. It's at the beginning of the book, which has in total, what is it, 448 pages. this moment includes the only unprinted page in the book. So what you see is the Art and Project Bulletin number 67 by Alan Ruppersberg, made in 1973, which states on its cover the title of the exhibition he realized at the Art and Project Gallery, which is called "Thank You, Mr. Duchamp." You open that, you know, that folded A3 sheet into A4, and then you read on the left page, would you please close the door? And then you have in the original document an loosely inserted blank page, which we just, you know, left a blank page bound. Yeah. And then you read on the other side of this double page, thank you. So that inserted sheet in the original document references a ready-made of Duchamp, which is famously this door in a corner that serves two rooms, you know. Yeah. So one room is always open and the other is closed, and vice versa. So that is what Ruppersberg referred to. And with the shape of the book. And the blank page is a kind of a placeholder for the door. Here you see on the right that book you were talking about, Jason Fulford, which is called Nudism. Okay. Which is, you know, which he imitates from Cocteau's film Orfeo, a prop, a film prop. So you have this scene of which you see a still photograph of the young poet, which is meeting his, you know, his critic in a Parisian cafe. And the critic talks about a new talent in the how do you say, in the group. Another poet which published Nudism, which is a blank book, and he gives that blank book to our protagonist, the Orfeo. And in that film scene, you see him flipping through this blank book. And Jason Fulford made a replica, so to speak, of the prop from that very movie. Here, two other spreads with a work or a sheet of paper by Jeha Kochman, which is actually a book, a literary book that he formed back again into pulp and made by hand new sheets of paper. And what appears is this lettering, you know, the text works that is actually like a deconstructed new poem. On the right, you see a work by Maurizio Nannunci, which is called Only Paper, which is kind of stamped, blind stamped in the corner of the sheet, making actually, you know, I think it's commenting also the art, the value of the work. So it is, as a matter of fact, a limited edition of Nannunci, but it states that it's only paper. So it's something is in disbalance. However, here a detail of a work by Stanley Brown, and as you know, Stanley Brown did not want it that his work is reproduced in catalogs. So in order to emphasize that, I placed this line, which is many times repeated in other catalogs about Stanley Brown, that he requested that his work is not reproduced since 1972, which of course in our time we live in is ridiculous.
Yeah.
You find a lot of works reproduced of Stanley Brown, but again, it's a detail in the book of how do you exactly deal with that,
Yeah, and I mean, maybe another kind of book or exhibition that wouldn't be so important, but in this case, it's really important. So it's great that you put it that way.
Yeah. Now here you see a work of an artist I personally also admire a lot, Thierry Valoch.
Great, yeah.
It's the Book of Nothing, which is some 88 page book with blank pages, and on one particular page appears the word nothing. Here's something funny.
Oh, I love that one. Yeah.
By two young Catalan artist designers
who made editions.
I beg your pardon?
Urbild Editions, I think it's the name, right?
Yes, it's Urbild Editions by Raúl Dávila and Julia Paradel.
Exactly.
And they made a kind of a booklet, very simple, very low print run, called Blank Books.
Very beautiful.
In which they depict Disney figures, reading books where nothing is inside.
Oh, that is a beautiful anthology of blank books also.
Yeah. Here we are in the section of the monochrome books with a book by André Todt, titled Evergreen Book, made in 1990. And on the opposite, in blue, by Irma Blank, Urbuch, Overo Romanzo Blue. So is a work about a blue romance, which is a book which has some 1,400 something pages, blue pages on Bible paper. Beautiful. Another book with colors made by Olaf Nicolai, called 30 Farben, which makes reference to the launch of 30 new colors by Pantone. Which is strange, that you would think, well, every color exists somehow commercially, but that's not the case.
Yeah.
So these are the 30 new colors from the year 2000 when the book was published by Pantone. Here, a spread of a very tiny book of Ken Friedman, which I also like very much. It was published in the EIC Institute Artist Corporation series by Gros, and it has on every page one word. And when you go through these 16 pages, it reads the following: when you finish reading this sentence, you have finished reading this book. So, it's an absolute self-referential closed circuit, and very nice title. On the opposite, the book by the painter A.R. Penck, German paper from East Germany, titled Ich bin ein Buch, kaufe mich jetzt. So I'm a book, buy me now, which establishes basically a dialogue between the reader and the book itself. So the book as a living creature, let's say, which is somehow stubborn, together with the reader in the definition what a book is. So it's a continuous back and forth dialogue, what a book is as an object. Here another detail that is of Fiona Banner, which I also, which I like or tried to somehow, have a meta comment within the book. This is a photograph, actually. It's not a book that Fiona Banner did, called Portrait of the Artist as a Publication. And you see an ISBN code tattooed on her back, which was part of the exhibition. But on the verso side, or the following spread, you see another work that I just commented before, The Anatomy of a Book. The Anatomy of a Book is a blank book, hardcover, on which the cover states the word face, the spine states the word spine, and the back cover states the word back.
Exactly.
So I think this is the kind of indirect connections I make
exactly
between two banks. And then you have the
we just
Jonathan Moore. Yeah. This is also a very nice title by Emil Salto, who is a Danish artist, that depicts a blank book, spreads of a blank book, but since it is Japanese bound, a spread is always doubled in two. So you go through 13 different pages in that book. But it's always kind of, you on one spread, you see actually two different half of a page held by the artist in a different way. And that creates this kind of very particular reading of a blank.
The photo itself is beautiful, yeah.
Yeah.
This is Roberto.
And last but not least, this is a book by Spanish Roberto Equioswine, who has the title Blah, 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 blah. And the entire text is only constructed by the Sibala blah.
Yeah.
What he did, and that is most amazingly, he took an edition of Franz Kafka's Metamorphosis in German called Die Verwandlung.
Yeah.
So Die Verwandlung, blah, 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 and transformed every syllable of the book into blah.
Amazing.
And I was very curious, and so now let's check that, So I looked for that particular edition that the book is based, and indeed, it is absolutely accurate.
Wow, amazing.
So can you imagine that the work to do so, is just amazing. And voila, that was this little
amazing.
This little journey through the book as well. Here to end with index,
and that
not detail of the end paper. The last page is not blank; it just states this is the last blank page. And as a conclusion, I found this quote of Gilles Deleuze, who said, "A blank page lacks nothing."
Great.
So this is what I have prepared in order to get a better idea.
No, I think that for people that didn't know about this exhibition or the catalog, it's a great way to go inside, and I like very much the idea of walking through this book, walking these different corridors, chapters, and all that. I have a couple of questions I wanted to ask you in the end. The first one, we haven't talked about a common friend that is really important for our exhibition. You know who I'm talking about, Sergio Pesutic, who wrote and published La Inteligencia Militar in the 80s here in Chile.
Yeah.
that book will be like Herman de Vrie's book in your exhibition. For us, we have like 10 different versions of La Inteligencia Militar printed in Chile, also in Uruguay, Spain, Basque Country, and Mexico. And also we'll be very lucky to finish the last day of our exhibition with a talk with Sergio. So we're very happy to have him in the exhibition. We know we will laugh a lot because he's so funny, and he was so happy because he went to your exhibition. And
exactly, he was at the opening, and on top he produced a new version of La Inteligencia Militar.
The German
lingual edition. It's a German version. You know, he did I think in 2000. When was that? In 2016 or something.
Yeah.
He did a bilingue version.
Yeah, with
so
English.
The Spanish-English version. Of course, Spanish-English is to say the book is blank, but the paratexts are in Spanish and in English, which is the same case in the German version, praising, you know, the international impact and long-standing bestseller that book is indeed. Yeah. No, it's give him my very best regards because it's a dear friend.
Yeah. And how did you know his work? Because, for example, when I started researching about this book, I found that there was no academic writing about it. Yeah. It was not considered, at least in Chilean tradition. I mean, lots of people knew about it because it was very famous in Chile. It was a very, I mean, comparing to other books that you told that there are like an edition of 5 copies. So no, this is a very massive book, and it's been printed like every 5 or 10 years. So
yeah. Well, you know, I read about. I could not say where I did read about, so it came on my list, but I could not find any angle to the author. And it was a pure coincidence that a friend of mine from Barcelona went to Mexico and met the printer of the Mexican edition.
Tonatiuh Trejo.
Exactly. And through the Mexican printer, I could, you know, establish the contacts to Sergio Pesutich. And then it turned out that he has family in Catalonia. So he came and we met here in Barcelona. And voila, and which was we repeatedly met. So he gave to the exhibition in Düren, you know, all the copies of his books, which were at the time 12 different volumes, and the 13th he made for Germany. I would guess in a print run of 100 copies, you know, something.
And now there's a new one also that we just launched a couple of months ago here in Santiago. Well, and the funny thing is that I met Sergio because of you in Barcelona. So the coincidences are really strange. Well, we will talk about all of that, of course, that day. And the other question I wanted to ask you, you sent me a YouTube video that we will also would like to put it in the video section of the book, that performance you made, conceptual art for dummies. Can you tell us a little more about it?
Well, you know, during the exhibition in Düren, there was this European-wide celebrated museum day. You know?
Okay.
And they also had some activities, you know, I don't know, like bratwurst making and concerts and, you know, guided tours, etc. And they asked me if I could make a guided tour. But this caused for me a big problem because I thought it's impossible to do a guided tour through that exhibition. I mean, it would take hours because first it is difficult to pick out of what is picked, you know, to make again a selection, and then every book needs some introduction or something to tell about, and then it reveals, let's say, why it is interesting. Huh? I mean, just looking at those books in the showcase, they are dead bodies somehow. So for this reason, we produced an exhibition guide, which was 48 pages, which commented each of the book in English and in German, in a very brief way, much shorter than in the catalog, what the book is about. So I felt it's impossible to do a guided tour. So I came up with that idea of the performance, which is basically reading all the 259 titles of books, but not in the order as it is in the catalog, but in an order that creates hopefully another narrative. So at the beginning, I started with the book titled Titoro. That is a book by Rahel Zoller. It's a graphic designer, German graphic designer who lives in London. And there is the book titled by is it called Nedelec?
Julian Nedelec.
First name sorry,
Julian?
I can't come up. Julien Nedelec.
Yeah.
And so on. So it goes from title to untitled. So all the books who have no titles, and then on and on about white, books that have the color white in the title, etc. The very end of the book was the book that gave the performance. Its title, Conceptual Art for Dummies by Christian Wickering.
Yeah. But
and
I'm not sure.
Well, that performance is I was standing on a plinth, and I had all these bookmarks, which are in the exhibition as how do you say, as caption papers. I had that on my hand, such a very huge package, and then I just let them fall on the ground. It took a bit too long. It's too slow, the performance, but it was never rehearsed, and it was shown one time. So if I would do it a second time, I don't know when, it would be rehearsed, and it would be faster. Yeah.
Well, and that book that you reference, Conceptual Art for Dummies, it's an only digital book, or because I have a digital version, but I'm not sure if it's the same.
I think no, it's not a digital book. It's a physical copy. Okay. Wait, I can show it to you here where it is.
Because I found a PDF version of it.
18 number. Very early on, it's this is the cover.
Oh yeah, it's the same.
It imitates this kind of popular book about dummies, etc. And it was well, he made it in 50 copies.
Great.
This book, it's self-published thing, and yeah.
Amazing.
No, it's a great. I mean, it's absurd. Yeah. It's how do you say, a gag book? Exactly. But I think it's a very good gag book.
Exactly. No, it's very precise, because we didn't talk very much about it, but I guess Michael Gibbs talked about these dummy blank books, which there are thousands of them, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, Simon Sterling. Also made together with an exhibition catalog, he produced a second volume, which is blank, which is a dummy. And that goes together with a banderole. It was also in the exhibition, and that was made based on a on a duo solo exhibition he had in 2 different institutions in France at the same time. And one institution presented a new made installation, and the other presented, like a kind of an overview of works.
Okay.
And for the second exhibition, he produced a new work, which was actually showing in 2 showcases. Yeah. In one of them, all his publications that he did, and in the other showcase, all the dummies that were produced, before the publication was printed. It's the dummy is the thing that the graphic designer tests, the tactility and volume and dimension, etc. So this is, I think, also a beautiful idea, which I wanted to copy, actually. I wanted my book also 2 volumes.
Oh, really?
One printed and the other blank, but that was just too expensive.
Too much. Well, for the reprint.
Well, that is, it's always, reprint is easy said, but it's not that easy done. I mean, it would be nice, as you know, the book is out of print already after really? 4 months, 5 months. It is out of stock, and that is surprising. I mean,
congratulations.
It was printed in 1,100 copies, and it's just, I don't know, it's a surprise. Yeah.
Well, amazing. Well, and it's good to know that the interest on blank books and nothingness keeps growing. So
yeah.
Thank you so much for all that you have helped in this appreciation for nothingness. And it's really inspiring to hear you talking about the exhibition, the books, the catalog, and all the energy and passion that you put producing this is really inspiring for us. So thank you so much. We would love to have you here, but well, I hope sometime we can make it.
That's how it is, that is. It's too much pollution producing.
That's right. No, I mean, traveling from Spain to Chile is a lot of pollution. Well, thanks very much, Moritz, and we're really happy to have you at least in this interview, and also with the video in the exhibition.
Yeah, so that's funny. So thank you very much, Felipe, and good luck with the opening and the book fair. Huh?
Thank you very much, and hope to see you soon in Barcelona.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.